Welcome to the Missouri Woods and Water Podcast. I'm your host, Nate Thomas. This is kind of a weird one today, to be honest with you folks. The show today is Andy with our two guests, and I'm doing the intro. It's been a crazy week, so this is how it's happening. Just wanted to kind of throw that out there real quick. But today's show, we have Austin Bailey and Tyler Keatts, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, with FCS Credit. They come on. This is kind of our part 2 of our mini land series that we had our first part last month, and this is kind of the second part about financing land and kind of just the process with them. And like I said, Andy's with them. So once you're done here in this intro, you'll have Andy with the two guests. So it's a little bit different than any show we've ever done. This is kind of one-off, but it has been a crazy week. I'll get into it just real quick. First off, want to thank all of our listeners, everybody who's been reaching out and sending well wishes and most importantly prayers. I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but just so y'all know, my wife is dealing with some medical problems that are scary, and so it's been kind of rough lately for the Missouri Woods and Water crew, as well as me, and so hopefully things come out on the positive side, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to be around a lot right now. Can't guarantee that we're good. Just there's a lot of stuff up in the air right now, so to be honest with you, I could care less about this podcast at the moment. I care about my wife. So I love you guys, and we love you guys, and we appreciate everybody reaching out. If I could just ask one thing from our listeners, I'm a Christian man, and I really just would appreciate all of you praying for my wife's health. And I would appreciate that, and my kids to, just get to have normal kid lives. So anyways, that's it. That's all I really want to say about it. And like I said, we appreciate everybody reaching out that already has. And you just kind of want to give you guys that warning that the show might be a little weird for a while. I can't guarantee anything, to be honest with you. So anyways, let's just get into our show with, oh wait, I got to do sponsors, man. I'm sorry. My head is not here. So let's do sponsors real quick. Appreciate them as well. They've been awesome. The ones that kind of know what's going on. So let's start with Jason Patterson and his land team. Make sure you check out their social media, 816-824, by the way, 6282. Check out their social media. They've got a lot of trail cam photos they're putting on, just kind of showing you all what's there. Really cool. So check out Jason and his team there at Whitetail Properties. Reveal cameras by Tacticam. Me and Micah went out to our new hunting property, which was nice to get away for the afternoon, and set out 4 cameras. I'm not really sure. And, all reveals, kind of just put them on different areas that we thought we would get some animals moving through. Black Ovis, use our code MWW10, 10% off site-wide. It can also be used on certain sale items on top of the sale, so that's cool. And then download that Camo Fire app, get that daily deal, find some cool stuff. On X, use our code MWW20, 20% off. Got to go to the website to do it. It's a perfect example if you're hunting a property with multiple people. We shared all of our pins on where the trail cams are, because half the trail cams out there are mine, half of them are Micah's. And then Andy's probably going to put some out there too, so we know where everybody's is. So if one of us is out there hunting and somebody says, hey, I got a dead cam, I can go find the camera without ever knowing where it was originally. So that's nice. Lucky Buck Mineral, we're going to put some mineral out there. We haven't done it yet. It's a little late for that, but it's going to establish a site that property doesn't have yet. So that's kind of nice. Midwest Gunworks, use their website, midwestgunworks.com. All kinds of awesome parts. Check them out. Athlon Optics, finally going to be mounting an optic, hopefully on a rifle for my son's that has they all want to go youth hunting. And even though this crap's going on, I'm still going to try to get those boys out as much as possible into the woods. So Athlon will have a scope on top of that gun, and then the end of that gun will have a Huxworks suppressor on it. Great flow through technology. Hoping to do a show with them in the near future, if I can get stuff scheduled. So anyways, sorry about that. I didn't, I don't know, just is what it is at this point. So let's get into our show with Austin and Tyler with FCS Financial, and your host will be Andy this week. This is the Missouri Woods and Water podcast.
All right, welcome to Missouri Woods and Water with a first episode here that in 5-6 years we've been doing this, I've never done a solo episode. So shout out to the guys. Normally hold it down. I'm normally the slacker that misses for farming or otherwise, but it's my turn to pick up the slack this time. Got some guests with us today, some old friends of mine back in my previous FCS days. Austin Bailey, Tyler Keatts. How's it going, guys?
Good, Andy. Thanks for having me.
Good. Doing well, Andy.
Good. Good to see everybody again. It's been a while. I think I've been gone for about a year now.
I was trying to think of that the other day. I told some people we were doing this, and I was like, we were trying to figure out when exactly you left. We figured it was about a year.
August 29th of 24 is my last day there.
Okay.
They're sure to remind me in Higginsville that I only made it 9 years and 11 months. I needed one more month for my 10-year anniversary. So they're quick to remind me I did not make 10 years.
Because we started really close together, right?
Yeah, we were in the same academy class, weren't we?
Yeah.
So, nope, not quite 10 years, but I enjoyed my time there for sure. So, well, guys, the tradition on Missouri Woods and Water. One, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you guys do. And then what's your favorite thing about the Missouri outdoors? Austin, you're first on my screen to the left, so I'll let you go first.
Sounds good, Andy. My name's Austin Bailey. I'm a commercial livestock loan officer in Northeast Missouri for FCS Financial. In my spare time, we run cows and cow-calf operation and also have several kids, and they keep us busy on the farms in all of our spare time. Enjoy hunting and mostly rifle hunting with deer and a little bit of turkey hunting. Like to get into fishing, but my patience is not what it should be. So working on that.
That's understandable. Yeah, rifle season coming up quick, so it almost is the season. I noticed my deer cameras started going off a lot more last night. Big moon. I don't know that it's like a crazy full moon. I don't know if you guys seen that last night, but it's huge. Deer responded to it for sure.
Absolutely.
Tyler, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so Tyler Keatts. I was formerly a loan officer down here in Springfield for FCS. Now I just started being a team leader. So I supervise a group of loan officers for our ag and rural department on the southern third of the state. So down here in Springfield, I've got 3 young kids at home. So again, like Austin, this age group of kids keep us busy. And as far as outdoors go, we've got a lot of state parks and stuff and hiking areas and stuff. So we'll do a lot of walks and hikes and streams and creeks and a little bit of, pond fishing and stuff like that. With my kids young, that's kind of what we like to do.
Absolutely. And that's what's cool. I think the overwhelming answer we typically get has to do with the diversity of Missouri. And I think your guys' 2 answers kind of showed that. You got, whitetail hunting, you got turkey hunting, and then also you got state parks, hiking, fishing. I mean, there's so many things in Missouri that if you want to get outdoors to keep yourselves entertained or keep your family entertained, there's so many opportunities that's unique. You go west, you have big game hunting. You don't have as much pond fishing or as much of those things. They're there, but not availability. You go east, you got a whole different experience. But we're kind of in that melting pot in the middle to where you get a little bit of everything around here. We have an elk season, a bear season, deer season, all that good stuff. So you guys plan on taking any youth hunters? By the time this comes out, it's going to be pretty close to youth season, I would imagine. So got big plans for youth season?
My oldest is 7, so no, we won't be doing it quite yet. Hopefully next year.
Not quite
I'm in the
there.
same boat. We're not there.
I'm right. I'm right there with you. That's my oldest is 7 as well. So she wants to. However, we have not. We've not passed the dad hunter safety course quite yet. So I think it'll be another year maybe. We'll see if she gets a little more interested and a little more focused before then. So anyway, topic of conversation for this episode, we want to talk about Okay, it is deer season. It is hunting season. It's harvest. People have hopes, dreams. Myself, obviously, I left Farm Credit to pursue other dreams. I had nothing ill for Farm Credit by any means. Still friends with everybody there and love that company, love what they stand for and their tools. That being said, I myself even have future dreams of buying farms, getting started in farming more, and even buying recreational property. So what I want to talk about, or have you guys kind of walk us through, is one, what does that look like from a young beginning farmer? What does that look like in general? What does it look like through Farm Credit? What tools do you have available? And then from a recreational land buyer, they're one and the same, but also separate. So maybe we can walk through some of that process. So walk us through, if you don't mind, a little bit maybe of the initial process. Okay, you're starting to think about it. What are the minimum requirements, I guess, to start out?
So I guess I can explain a little bit on kind of the bare minimum from a farming standpoint, a beginning farmer, the best program to utilize probably with the least amount of down payment and the cheapest payment is going to be the beginning farmer FSA loan. And it is a 50-45-5 program. The commercial lender can do 50%. FSA lends 45% on a 20-year fixed. And then the customer only has to have 5% of a down payment in cash. So that's kind of your baseline. That does need to be productive farm ground. It can't be like a true rec property with no farm income. So that's kind of, but for a true beginning farmer, that would be the probably the easiest way to get financing. But we've also rolled out some special loan programs. Tyler, I don't know if you want to touch on some of those new Connect programs.
Yeah, I can a little bit. It's no secret, I think, to most people that are involved in farming at any level or not really, that it's not an easy industry right now to get started in. Everything costs so much, and unless you're good job or you inherit it or you get some help, it's difficult, and there's no other way around it.
Absolutely.
And FCS has had a Connect Young Beginning Farmer program for several years. And we've kind of the last couple of years went through and revamped a little bit and said, okay, what can we do to expand it a little bit more to try to help, some continue on the legacy of Missouri agriculture and get young and beginning people brought in. So we kind of revamped Connect for some definition purposes for us. Young is anyone under the age of 35 and beginning is, we're all there now. And beginning is farming 10 years or less. And for us, it can be either or, it doesn't have to be both. And to be honest, we're seeing a lot more of beginning farmers that are kind of getting into agriculture maybe later in life. They, whether it's in the military or, went out west welding or whatever, had a career for a bit, and now they're wanting to settle down and get into farming a little bit more as for an income producing type venture. So seeing a lot more beginning, and that's fine too. And, part of that, so we've got some lower standards. Typical credit standards are reduced a little bit to help young people that may not have the equity position or down payment stuff necessary, that established people might have. And, there's some other components outside of those things. Some education is a good piece of it. We really, as a company, want to invest in our young beginning borrowers by providing some educational opportunities to them. Through some seminars. We have a Connect class that a handful of our borrowers each year or every other year, whatever it is, go through, and they'll meet, 3-4 times a year, kind of get into some financial planning type stuff, business acumen classes, some things like that to really hopefully expand their operations. And with this last deal, this last go around, we really opened up some opportunities to help with financing, maybe help with some down payment, financing options on the side, some expanded terms on cattle and machinery financing to really try to get our foot in the door again with maybe those beginning guys that are just, buying some cattle or buying some machinery and just working off lease property before they buy that farm. So really trying to capture, some of these YB customers at their entry level stage, maybe not just when they're buying ground. That's always the conversation I get. What do you do first? Do you buy the ground and then do the other, or do you try to get established and then buy ground? There's not a right answer. It's just whatever works.
That's what I think is so neat about, I guess, the farm credit system is you're right. There is no right answer. Everybody comes through life in a different process, and people get in and out of agriculture at different times, and having those tools no matter what stage of life you're in or what stage of your finances you're in, having those right tools to be able to do that. That Connect class I always really valued and thought was good to have young customers go through. I used to help Danielle kind of teach one of the credit classes there of, okay, how to fill out a financial statement, how to apply for these things, how to look at your taxes, how do we look at your taxes, or how do you guys now? I keep saying we a lot. I know that's ever since I've even left, but how those things are looked at. I mean, it's such a learning curve. A lot of people at Farm Credit have business degrees. I had an accounting degree, so we're used to looking at those things. From a farmer's perspective, they could be coming, like you said, from a welding background, or they could be leaving a completely different industry and not have that knowledge and that expertise, to where I think it's great as a cooperative, you have the programs to help share those things on those sides and develop. Just because you don't have, a 30% cash down payment doesn't mean you're out of the game. There's tools out there. And that's what I think is awesome, to help those people. They might be credit worthy otherwise, but their assets may be in a different place or different process. They don't have it to do that. So being able to provide that's, I think, pretty unique and pretty awesome from that perspective.
We're also working with the loan programs. Obviously, that's part of Connect, but we also have a major part that's rolling out is the education piece. And we plan to do some in-person things like the ag seminars, but we also will be doing an email campaign every quarter. So that'll have a video explaining what your balance sheet is and things like that, to help YB or young producers that just don't have any financial background to understand just the basics of what we look at.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And kind of the third piece to it, a lot of our YB customers, once we have some customers here, have a voice in the cooperative. So part of the cooperative structure, obviously, we have our board of directors that kind of is governance over the association, and then this tier step down from that is our stockholder advisory committee. Each region kind of has a group of borrowers that meets once a year, and we just get to hear from them what's working, what's not. What can we do? We have a specific stockholder advisory committee made up of our YB borrowers that also meets once a year. And so, we get that group together and give them the voice that says, okay, just for YBs particularly, what's working, what's not, what can we do better, what can we do different? And we learn, a lot from them on, potentially what programs can we do or what their needs really are. And hopefully, be able to meet that at some level. So
Absolutely. I think that's great. And I think, some of those programs things help level the playing field, because you always hear people say, well, I can't compete with Joe Farmer down the road that's been doing this for you. It helps level that playing field a little bit, to where, yeah, you have a realistic opportunity to get involved and get there. So I think that's pretty neat. So for the sake of people who may not understand some of that process, let's walk through, I won't say role play, but let's walk through. I'm Farmer Andy, and man, there's really a 40-acre piece with 30 acres tillable down the road that I'd really like to buy, and I don't know where to start. Kind of real quick, what does that look like? I walked in the door, have no clue, what I need or what to do. For perspective, let's say I've been helping Dad on the farm, but I've never bought a farm myself. I don't have any farm ground. I have experience, but I'm not farming myself. So kind of walk somebody through that.
So the basics would be we would need to see a current balance sheet, and then 3 years of taxes, kind of as a minimum financial to get us started through the process. We would obviously need some information on the tract and how much you're wanting to spend on it. And it also depends on the path, if it's auction or if it's a private party transaction. A lot of those can vary your timeline, and we would need to know that up front. And the biggest thing is you would need to either come in or call your local loan officer and get a time set up to at least discuss with them about what you're thinking and provide that basic financial information to start with.
Perfect. So I want to backtrack a couple topics ago, but we talked about the FSA programs. In that case, correct me if I'm wrong, but Farm Credit would be, or FCS Financial would be, a preferred lender through that program, correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And that kind of means, a little easier paperwork compared to going through one that may not be, right?
A little bit. It expedites our process a little bit, and they also can use our credit memo for their if we're a preferred lender.
Kind of speeds up that process for the borrower.
So definitely for like FSA guarantees, so if we do the whole loan and with a minimum of 10% down, let's say, and get a guarantee, it really expedites the process on their side for them to work through it pretty quickly. So, yeah.
Sure. Perfect. Really what you're seeing, talking to you guys, there's ways to get to purchasing a farm with as little as 5% down through the FSA program. There's a guarantee program, 10% down. I mean, none of these obviously are like, you can't walk in and you just be expected to qualify for these programs, of course. There's a bunch of stipulations. A lot of times aren't even FCS financial stipulations. There's going to be FSA stipulations or things whether you qualify for those programs. But so you don't have to have these big down payments. And that's what I think is neat. The programs you guys work with and do, it opens up a lot of opportunities for people. So on that aspect.
Yeah, and to be honest, down payment's probably the biggest hurdle that I see, for young guys getting started or beginning people getting started either one. Land costs a lot everywhere in Missouri.
Sure.
I mean, just about anywhere, if it's open pasture or tillable ground, it's really ramped up the last, probably 5 years, I'd say, in most areas. And it costs a lot, and that's a hefty down payment. So that's usually the biggest hurdle. There's no perfect way, we don't have a way without FSA to necessarily offer 100% unless there's some equity elsewhere, machinery, cattle, something like that you potentially leverage to try to help. But there are options out there that we can partner with FSA and some stuff to try to do that. And a lot of times, if family's involved, and mom and dad have ground and there is some help available, a lot of times we'll look to that to try to see if, we can do something there and get some help that way too, when it's applicable, but that doesn't always work either.
We also, one of the specific programs we've rolled out is a beginning farmer down payment loan program. So it does offer some different terms to basically try to get a little bit more financing above our normal lending limit with the down payment program. So we do have that within the Connect program going forward.
Okay. And so that would be for that young or beginning possible qualifier there, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
That's new since I've left a year ago. So that's great. Honestly, speaks to the I don't want to say how well FCS Financial pays attention to what's going on to their member owners and what they need or asking for. I think, it's always adapting, always looking at appropriate ways, of course, to support those people and our member owners. So yeah, I think that's awesome.
And on that, without getting too into the weeds of the overall thing, really what that does is for somebody that's, again, young or beginning, but, maybe has some equity in machinery or cattle or something, some non-realty items, let's say, it allows us potentially to leverage some of those things with some terms to try to help cover that down payment, for the real estate portion. So it's a combination thereof to get there.
And I would say with that, the biggest thing to keep in mind is even if you can go to, because some lenders will have higher loan to value financing, ultimately you still have to cash flow that. I mean, we can lend 100% all day if it was legal, but ultimately your cash flow still has to support that. Something to keep in mind is to make sure that you can responsibly service that debt. And we've got these programs, but we want to, obviously one of those criteria is going to be to make sure your cash flow still is positive.
What I always told people, you can afford anything for 30 days. All right.
We can do all the programs in the world, but ultimately, if you can't cash flow it, it doesn't matter what kind of programs we have. I mean, ultimately, everything at the bottom line, at the end of the day, it's, can we pay for it? Is the plan and expectation reasonable that says, how we can pay for this? Because that's ultimately what lending money is about is also repaying it and making sure that works. And we want to put, as a cooperative, I think it's important that as we look at these, we want to put our customers and our member owners in a position that we think they can afford it. They can do it. It'll be a successful operation. So, I mean, that's part of, I think, our role in the process too, is ensuring that, it can be successful if we choose to get in with it.
Another thing that we've kind of added, Andy, is we do request a business plan now from especially a newer customer that doesn't have historical scope information from their farm or whatever, just to get a baseline of what their equipment costs or land costs, all those things would be. That way we're not using just our front end guidance to guess at it, basically. So that's something we've kind of added on this YB Connect program, that one additional piece, but it helps us understand their operation a lot better from the get-go.
And honestly, probably helps them as well. I mean, having them put it on paper and see it in front of them, it's hard. You can people can visualize stuff, right? But when you really put the nuts and bolts on the paper,
Yep.
It helps you make sure that does work. uh, we kind of touched around some stuff here, and one thing that I realize is available, but is land is expensive, right? Jokingly, I say you can afford anything for 30 days, but realistically, 30 days, or a lot of guys have off farm. They've been doing something else. They have off farm income. These tracks, it's a big payment, and a lot of times it may not service itself, right? You're going to have to subsidize from your off farm income. You get people who are nervous, like, oh, there's no way I can make that annual payment. I can't come up with that all at one time. Like, how am I going to do that? So, what are the options for somebody? Let's say you have an off farm job, you have access to cash flow from that job, but also, you're going to hopefully make some money off of your new farm investment. What are some options, and what are some structure within that we could do?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways we would look at it. My area of Missouri is traditionally a lot of part-time farms. Southwest Missouri, it's not big crop country. It's a lot of cattle and a lot of part-time farms. So a lot of our customers, at least one or two people on an operation, do work off the farm. So we can do potentially do two loans. One loan with an annual or a semi-annual payment that that the farm income can cover. And then, we'll do a second loan that's just structured monthly, to allow that wage job or off farm job to kind of cover. So that's one option. Another option sometimes is we have some kind of prepayment programs with our loans called funds held that you can, put money into an account attached to that loan and kind of prepay that payment or build up towards it and accrue, build money in there through the year. Sometimes that works in the right instance if a person's, diligent enough, they're going to put so much money in there a month from their off-farm job. Or a lot of times, cattle sales in my area don't always correspond with when that payment's due. That's a tool to utilize that. I may sell calves in April. My payment's not due till June. Well, let's go ahead and put it in there that for all intents and purposes, the payment's made and we don't have to mess with it. Multiple loans. We've got some account options that can allow flexibility for different income streams and different timings. Yeah.
Perfect. That's a big thing, I think, coming from inside the farm credit system and now out in the what you would call it, the farmer environment. What sticks out to me from being there versus maybe a traditional bank is the tools that really are available through FCS to make it like that. You mentioned funds held in my mind, and I'm assuming all these things are still available, of course, right from when I left. The ability to re-amortize a loan after a special payment. So I think that's an awesome tool to where, hey, let's say cattle market, for instance, you hit a lick, you had a little extra cash, you could put it towards that loan and potentially re-amortize that payment, right? Which meaning you spread your payment back out over the original term of the loan still, and build yourself a little maybe cash flow cushion.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm interpreting that correctly still, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big tool, and not every place you can do that.
Well, and farming's not consistent, right? Farm income's not consistent. High grain prices, low grain prices, it fluctuates the same way with cattle, and it's never going to be the same. Over a 10, 20-year span, every year's going to look different. So you're right. Those years, right now for us down here, the cattle are really good. You're making a lot more off of that calf when you're taking her to town. So yeah, put that extra towards a principal or in funds held or something to give yourself some cushion whenever the market does turn, because at some point things will change.
Another thing we can do, Andy, is conversions, obviously, and that's a big perk to farm credit, and being able to convert that loan down to a cheaper rate as the time allows and as the rates cycle through whatever environment we're in. But being able to convert that down and then re-amortize sure helps our customers from an interest cost.
Without a doubt, because a lot of times you might otherwise to get that you have to go through a whole refinance process that takes time, and by that time, who knows, the interest rate's still the same. It costs money because there's different fees involved to get title work and stuff done to redo the loan, to refinance it. To be able to do it so quick and easy and capitalize on that rate being lower is huge. Especially, we just came through or are coming through a 3, 4, 5 year environment to where rates have slowly climbed up on us. Hopefully, there's a day that will come back down and customers be able to capitalize on that through their conversions.
Absolutely.
And the good thing is you can kind of use that tool to follow them down.
Yeah.
We use a conversion 1 year, and then if rates keep going, 12 months after that, we can do it again. Doesn't mean so you can, if you can get to a spot where it's cheaper and it's worth time to do it, go for it. And then just kind of keep incrementally falling it down. It doesn't have to just be rates 3% cheaper, let's do it. Hey, it's cheap enough to save us some money. Let's go ahead and do it. And then we'll do it again in 12 months if things keep going. So it's a gradual process generally. Yeah.
So we kind of talked about, the farmer perspective, how you're going to get into production agriculture, be it either livestock or row crop. Kind of give me the guidelines. Okay, now I'm Andy Hunter who wants to buy an 80-acre timber tract for my family to hunt on, maybe a little recreation type piece, 4-wheelers or whatnot. What does that look like through FCS Financial?
So the basics on that one would be you need 20 to 30% cash down payment or other equity and some sort of real estate in the rural counties. But then you're also most likely going to have, if there's no income produced off that property, that's most likely going to need to be serviced on a monthly payment. So that would be the major difference between most of our ag loans with annual or semi-annual payments. Most of those recreational loans are going to be serviced on a monthly, sometimes quarterly basis if you've got some sort of business or something else. But that's kind of the basic of what that would look like.
So you kind of match up that payment with where that repayment ability comes from. Then.
Absolutely. Yep.
And generally we'd go, up to a 20-year term, typically 15, 20 years financing on a tract like that. Like Austin said, with, minimum of 20% and sometimes, a little bit higher, just depending on the deal.
And it's obviously going to depend a little bit if that property appraises out and some of those things too. Sometimes we do get into some higher price deals at auction that sometimes won't necessarily appraise out depending on who's pushed that higher.
Sure. So what are some options in that case if I don't, either you say it doesn't appraise out or I don't have enough down payment? Can you guys accept equity in another real estate property?
It's a loaded question, Andy. It depends. So it's going to depend if we have it financed already. Obviously, we can use equity in something else. If it's at another lender, we may have to look into either refinancing that and doing a whole new loan or something to that effect. But yes, you can use equity in other real estate if we have it accessible. And then if it doesn't, if you just were doing a pure purchase and didn't appraise out, we would just need you to put a little bit more cash down to get it to that level.
Okay.
And generally, as long as that real estate collateral and equity is considered rural or, in a rural community in Missouri, that generally helps. Commercial real estate in Kansas City, that's pretty difficult to use, that kind of stuff for us, just because of the way we're regulated and everything. Considering that extra collateral is, in rural Missouri, in a rural area, generally speaking, like Austin said, depending on the lien position, we can use that to help.
Makes sense. Well, hopefully we've been able to kind of help people who didn't know where to start, have a place to start. Obviously, contact your local FCS financial loan officers, and they can kind of guide you through those processes. But there's tools out there. My takeaway is there's tools out there. If you have a dream of owning farmland or getting into farming or getting your own recreational property of some sort, the tools are there. Don't write it off because you don't have this massive down payment or can't pay cash for it. And a lot of people think you got to write a check for it, which is not the case by any means. Don't write off the programs and the help that is out there to make those dreams happen.
Yeah, and I think it's important to try to have those conversations pretty early on. If you're really thinking, hey, we think this farm next to dad's going to come up or whatever it is, right? Have those conversations with us pretty early on in the process. We've got really, really good staff. Our loan officer staff and our branches are fantastic. And, sit down and meet with them, discuss the cash flow opportunities, just see what works. Hey, I don't know if this is going to work, but what can we do? And we can kind of hopefully sit down and devise a plan that says, hey, we've got to get to here in order to do this, give you something to shoot for, rather than, place coming up for auction in 2 weeks and now we got to figure it out. The earlier we can plan for it and have these conversations on, the better position that, you would be or they would be to make that purchase when it does come up.
And from an excellent officer perspective, those are some of the most rewarding ones. The people who came in and made a plan of, whether it was grandma and grandpa's farm or your uncle's farm or the neighbor farm down the road. Hey, one day that's going to come for sale. What do I need to do And it may be 2 years later, it may be 5 years later, it may be quicker than that. But, starting that process and getting yourself in a position, and from a loan officer, looking at that, that was the most rewarding for me, is watching those people be able to do those things and getting them set up for success and being able to get to that point. So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It's going to happen right now or never. It can be a planned activity and get yourself in that position.
Absolutely.
Well, very good, guys. It's awesome to get to catch up with you. Hope everybody's doing good. You got anybody get big bucks on camera yet, or?
Got a decent 10-pointer on camera this morning, actually.
There you go.
Nice.
My biggest deer just showed up this morning as well. So I really think something with that moon kind of
Harvest moon last
triggered
night,
a little bit.
It's still awful
pretty
warm
excited.
everywhere. It needs to cool down.
Yes, yeah. It's been way too hot for October. I know that's right.
Yeah.
Tyler, you guys kind of have bear season a little bit more down in your territory, don't you?
Yeah. So I don't know, what is this, year 3 or 4? I forget when it was. Yeah, black bear in southern Missouri is kind of starting to become more of a normal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff, my coworker, he got one a couple years ago on the first season. So yeah, it's becoming a little bit more normal thing towards the Mark Twain National Forest and stuff, a little bit east and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of a new thing down here.
He was one of the, not the first, but he was one of the first, not the first, in Missouri.
Yeah. I don't know if he was the first. I think there was somebody else that beat him that, but he would have been in that first group that got some in Missouri.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. That's kind of, being a part of that history and being a part of Missouri outdoor history is pretty neat.
How's the crop yields over in your neighborhood, Andy?
I have not had any complaints yet. So
That's
from
good.
A seed standpoint, I think I'll take that as a win. So no one's called and yelled at me, which I wouldn't expect. But no, it's been very good. It's been very good. I don't know record yields, but they're flirting with it. I mean, there's some people who are having record yields, and some people who I'd say they're in their top probably 3 years. So no complaints so far. And that's mainly on corn. Everybody's just dabbling soybeans right now. So I would say, soybeans are having a average to above average year with the dry August we had. I think it was the third driest August on record, something crazy like that. So surprisingly better than I pictured they would be for being so dry late in that late finish.
Good.
But I got people still wanting to order more for next year, so I won't be too upset with it.
Very good.
Absolutely. So hopefully you guys keep holding down the FCS fort. I truly do miss working there, missing all the people we got to work with. So, but it's been good. So hopefully.
We miss having you around. We have employee conference next week. Everybody's getting together. So yeah, it's that time of year.
You just send me a time and address. You never know who shows up.
There you go.
No. But guys, I appreciate the time. I appreciate, you explaining to some of our listeners the possibilities when it comes to purchasing farms or rec land. And for our listeners, obviously I'm probably biased, but I can tell you the tools and the people that FCS has available sets it apart from traditional lending to the point where you're at a disadvantage, in my opinion, if you don't look into what they have to offer and set yourself up for some of those tools for success. And with those people, not only is it a place to get financing, it's a place to network and truly, like they talked about the Connect programs, you educate yourself of what's happening, how to do things, and how to keep your operation viable and proceeding. Great people to know there, great network to have. Guys, I appreciate everything.
Yeah.
I got anything else?
For your listeners, if anyone doesn't know our office or isn't familiar, best place to get some information and kind of find your local branch would be our website. myfcsfinancial.com is the best place to go. You can kind of search your area, find our local branch, and pay our staff a visit. We'd love to help you out.
Yeah, I apologize. I almost didn't give the website plug. Yeah,
That's
my bad. My bad. And you guys are on social media too, I believe, some Facebook pages. So stay up to date with the happenings on that. One of my favorite times just passed. I always really like co-op month. You got to do the cookouts at the elevators. So I was doing some grain hauling for Dad and did get to see them. I did not get to stop and eat, but I seen they were out there and slinging some burgers. So, but it's always a good time to see your customers and everything. I do. Always good times.
Getting out and doing those things are fun. Better than sitting in an office, that's for sure.
Exactly. And that's a lot of times. I mean, FCS has boots on the ground and they're out in it. Well, anybody have anything else? Everybody
Don't think so. Appreciate your time. Good to catch up, Andy.
Yeah, I appreciate
absolutely.
doing this. This is fun.
I'm sorry?
I said I appreciate doing this. This was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you look them up, myfcsfinancial.com. Check out your local offices, and hopefully they can help you get that next farm purchase. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
See ya.